All right, so the Creation Museum response to Bill Nye, the science guy. The Creation Museum, obviously, they're part of Ken Ham's ministry over there in Kentucky.
Yes.
We had a chance to check out that museum. Well, they came up with a response to Bill Nye's video, and we'd like to show that to you now.
The first point that Bill Nye makes is that denial of evolution is unique to the United States. I'm sure he knows better than that. After all, not only is evolution criticized widely in the United States by at least 40% of its citizens, but evolution is believed to be false in the Muslim world. Creationism is certainly taught in South Africa, India, South Korea, Brazil. Smaller factions of creationists probably are found in Japan, Israel, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada.
Bill Nye implies in his video that parents and other adults are doing a great disservice to children by teaching them about biblical creation. Well, you might be interested to know that I also teach my young daughter about evolution, and I know many other Christian parents who do the same. Children should be exposed to both ideas concerning our past. Being a good scientist and a mom, I want my daughter to be educated about evolution so that she can see the inherent problems with it. For example, the complete lack of a genetic mechanism that allows organisms to gain genetic information to go from simple to complex over time.
Bill Nye also makes the comment that the world becomes fantastically complicated if one believes in creation. I would argue the world becomes fantastically complicated if one believes in evolution. You see, in evolution, you have to look at that hummingbird feeding at your feeder and assume that all of its parts have somehow come together by random purposeless change combined with natural selection, which is nothing more than differential reproduction.
We need to understand in the video that Bill Nye is confusing observational science with historical science. Observational science is what I call here and now science. It gives us inventions and technology like computers and vaccines. We can observe it, test it, and repeat it. Historical science deals with the past, and both evolution and creation fall into that category. We cannot test, observe, or repeat them. Yes, we do see fossils and distant stars, but their history of how they got here really depends on our worldview. Do we start with man's ideas about the past, who wasn't here during the supposed billions of years of Earth history? Or do we start with the Bible, the written revelation of the eyewitness account of the eternal God who created it all? Rather than being inconsistent, as Bill Nye states, observational science confirms the literal history and Genesis.
The second point that Bill makes in his video is that evolution is fundamental to all life science, that life science can't be practiced without it. This is certainly not the case. The evolutionist Adam Wilkins, publishing in Bioessays, Volume 22, number 12, says as follows: while the great majority of biologists would probably agree with Theodosius Dobzhansky that nothing in biology makes sense without evolution, yet, he said, most can conduct their work quite happily without particular reference to evolutionary ideas. He concluded that evolution would appear to be an indispensable and unifying idea, and at the same time, a highly superfluous one.
Now, I may be wrong here, but I think we could observe what Genesis says in creation today. You can see animals bringing forth after their own kind. You can see everything is complete in creation. You don't see one bird flying in a circle because it's got one wing. The other hasn't evolved. Everything's evolved to its maturity. You know, dogs have got 4 legs. You and I have got 2 legs. We've got 2 eyes. So we see everything that Genesis says, every animal bringing forth after its own kind, reflected in creation as it is.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, you know, we get often, I guess, accused of not believing in evolution, but truth be told, we do believe in evolution. We do believe in microevolution, and there's a difference between microevolution and macroevolution. Microevolution, one species within its species, it stays within the species, and there's no added DNA within that. But we don't believe that one species can turn into a completely different species with new DNA, new material evidence that it doesn't exist.
Now, there's no evidence for that. That's what's called the missing link,
Right.
isn't it? They keep looking for, hoping they'll find it, but they never find it. And Darwin said they'll find it one day, and it's been, 200 years, and they haven't found it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, was it Time magazine? I have a quote here. It says, scientists concede that their most cherished theories are based on embarrassingly few fossil fragments and that huge gaps exist in the fossil record. I mean, it's funny. But, it actually leads on into the next question here. Doesn't the Big Bang Theory disprove the Genesis account of creation? This question, I think, begs the question, assumes that there was a Big Bang. But if you grab a hold of the premise, hey, doesn't the Big Bang discredit the Genesis account of creation? What
Absolutely not. No, there's a Big Bang when God spoke. Although scientists are beginning to see now that you need materials to make sound. And if there was nothing and then there was a Big Bang and no materials as yet until a bang came, it would have been a big silence that would have happened. Yeah. So there was no bang.
All right. A little too deep for me, but I think that's very interesting. Have you ever heard of an explosion creating order?
No. This doesn't happen.
It doesn't. I mean, a terrorist bomb doesn't create order.
Always creates chaos. Always.
And that's the idea here with the Big Bang, that we would have an explosion. First of all, we don't know what explodes. There's got to be some material there in order to explode.
Right, so there had to be something pre-existent for the explosion to take place.
Which would never happen. I mean, if you were to empty out your garage, take out every piece of articles, every plastic, every metal, take out the air, the oxygen, the carbon, take out everything inside there, would you safely come to the conclusion that a Mercedes-Benz would evolve there in 10 years?
No.
20 years?
No.
Or 200 million years?
No, it needs more.
Yeah, and that's what it is. So you think, all right, something is going to come from nothing if just given enough time.
Yeah, time is the Santa Claus. It's the magic wand maker. Time. Father Time. Billions of years, then I can believe. Then the belief comes alive once that fairy godmother or whatever it is waves that magic wand of time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And see, here's the thing with scientists. We can get scientists and they can recreate. But your greatest scientist that has ever lived can never create. Can't even create a grain of sand.
Not from nothing.
From nothing.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing. In Hebrews, it says that God created the heavens and the earth, and that Hebrew word is the word barch, which means out of nothing.
I'm impressed.
Out of nothing.
I like the hummingbird thing. Sue and I have got these bird things out. But put a reflective on the glass so the birds can't see us. Hang bird things so birds come along to get fed. And now and then we see hummingbirds come, and we just stand there with our mouths open in awe at the hummingbird. What's his wings flap 400 times per second or something crazy like that. And it's just, there's no helicopter that man's ever created that moves like a hummingbird. It's just real, like that, very fast and incredible. And to say that happened from rock, that's what it all comes down to. The Big Bang, there was rock coming through space, there was kind of life on the rock, and the earth kind of in the sea, and sun, and giraffes, and horses, and cows, and cats, and elephants, and birds, and trees, and bananas, and apples, and oranges, and the human beings all came from that rock.
Bananas.
Yeah, it is.